One thing that's happened during all the different lockdowns, we've been hearing from different people and how certain things appear to have gone a little wrong, to say the least. Well, Sue Blythe is now joining me. Sue, your story is amazing, and thanks for sharing it with us. Just to start with, you went over on the boat, I understand, to pick up a pup. You got it all sorted out. You rang 111 to get all the protocols in place. And, well, you can pick the story up, I think, from there.
Yes, I did. I'd received the direction notice from the travel notification service, and I had a query on it because my direction notice said that you can isolate with another person who undertakes voluntary isolation. So I thought I'd just check that because I've not been off the island since the first lockdown. I phoned 111 and they said, yeah, it's fine. Just call when you get back, and we'll book in the test for the both of you, and it'll cost £300, and that's the cost for two people. So I thought, okay, fine, I've got everything sorted. Went to get the dog, came back. I went as a foot passenger, got to the immigration area. The lady took my papers, and she said, "Where are you staying?" I said, "I'm staying at home." "So are you staying with anybody?" I said, "Yes, I'm staying with my husband. I'm following the direction notice I've been sent, and I spoke to 111 about it." And then she said, "You can't do that." I said, "What do you mean I can't do that?" "You can't do that. That's not the rules." And I asked her to refer upwards. So she referred to another woman who was just awful. She had no empathy whatsoever. She came over to me, and I was getting a little bit upset by this time because they held me for well over an hour and a half, with 4 or 5 of them hanging around, all hovering around me, including like security guards, like they were going to cart me off in a police van. I mean, they did actually threaten to call the police. So I said to the woman that was supposedly in charge, "What happens if you can't sort this out?" And she said, "You're going back on the boat later." I said, "You're going to send me back on the boat with an 8-week-old puppy with nowhere to stay?" And she shrugged her shoulders, and yeah, she was.
Okay.
That's what she said.
So let's just clear. You went over to pick up a puppy, which people have been doing. The puppy came to you, I believe, down there, so you didn't even have to leave the dockyard or anything. And then you came back, and you were completely isolated from everybody else on board, I understand. There was nobody else around, even, was there? But you checked this thoroughly with 111 to make sure you were following the procedures.
I did, yes.
So what happened next? Because I know your husband came down, and it still wasn't very clear, was it? He couldn't pick you up, or had to go in a taxi, or what?
My husband was waiting outside for me, and he phoned me to say, "Where are you?" Because he thought I'd got lost. And I said, "They won't let me through. They won't let me out." And he said, "Why?" I said, "I'm still waiting." And I was waiting and waiting and waiting. Whilst I was waiting, my husband called 111, who also said they would call the border people and confirm that what I had discussed was correct. And they did that while I was waiting. And the woman that was in charge, her surname, I don't know whether I should say that on air or not.
Don't please.
I won't. Dismissed it and said, "It's wrong. It's not right. You cannot go home." So what do you mean I can't go home? "Your husband will have to leave." So where can he go? He said he'll just have to leave. So I said, "We have a motorhome. He can stay in that," they said. So I said, "Well, I need to speak to my husband." "You can't leave here. You can't go and speak to your husband." I said, "I'm not saying I want to leave. I just want to speak to my husband." So they allowed me to walk to the exit doors to speak to my husband. But I had security guards surrounding me. I had 2 of them around me, like I'm some sort of prisoner. And I said to them, "Can I speak to my husband in private?" And they said no.
Okay,
Is that not against me?
I'm staggered. I mean, clearly something's gone horribly wrong here, but also the way you were treated doesn't sound very respectful. And you're going on the advice that you were given. So 111's told you one thing, but the security people there believe that you had with other protocols in place. So how did this get resolved?
It's not resolved, Paul. It's still not. Well, sorry, it is resolved. I got out. In the end, the head of security, a woman, had to speak to my husband on my mobile phone, and he had to say to her that he promised he would stay in the motorhome, that he then had to drive away. I had to order a taxi, which is ludicrous because I'm getting in a car with somebody I don't know, and I had to pay for a taxi to take me home even though my husband was there. When I got home, I wasn't even to go anywhere near my husband. He had to be in the motorhome and I had to be in the house, and that is how it has been since.
You don't sound like you're a person to let this drop. Have you had any more luck since this has happened to resolve the issue and find out where the mistakes were made?
There are a number of MHKs trying to help me, who have been fantastic. Some MHKs less so and have just ignored my pleas for help. We received an email from somebody in the Cabinet Office earlier saying that the advice from 111 was wrong, and I shouldn't have taken that advice, and I have to continue to self-isolate on my own. So basically what they're saying is, if you call 111, they can say whatever they like because you can't rely on it. I've also found out since, because I've had some friends trying to help me, that the direction notice I was issued with is not the current direction notice. It would appear that the direction notice I was issued with is a previous version from maybe a year ago. But I wouldn't know that because I haven't been anywhere.
And who issued that direction notice to you? Is that 111? So trying to get sorted out.
The government, they're called Travel and Notification Service. They're part of the Cabinet Office on the island. So clearly I've tried to speak to the head of public, I think he's head of public affairs. His name's Mark Lewin. He's high up in government. I've had no response from him. My husband and I had an email from one of his team today to say that their stance remains, but they ignored the fact that they have actually sent me the wrong direction notice in the first place. Because I believe that I am able to rely on that direction notice that I received, and all along I acted in good faith, but I've been treated horrifically.
I can hear that in your voice, how upset you are. You can't be the first person who's gone to get a puppy either. I mean, this is something that's happened. I've heard it before. People have gone over to pick up animals, and there's been a lot of talk about what could be done and what couldn't be done. So it seems like a year into this whole thing, not to have it fully sorted out is quite distressing in all sorts of ways. And clearly it hasn't been good the way that you were treated.
Exactly. And, bear in mind, Paul, we're in isolation anyway. We live in the middle of nowhere in the countryside with a very large garden. We don't see anybody. So really, what is the problem?
Well, now we've heard your story, maybe, hopefully, you'll get an answer to your problem. You certainly got a few feelers out there with the MHKs and to Mark Lewin, which is obviously where I'm assuming the buck stops on this one. So where would you like it to end? Your husband can move back in, obviously, would be it, and carry on your isolation together.
Yes, exactly. That's all we want. That is all we want, yes.
So in the meantime, he's still in the motor van, is he? Caravan?
Yeah, and he's also trying to run our business from his motorhome because clearly he's not allowed to drive into Douglas to go to work. We have a home office that he's now not allowed into, and he's trying to work from the motorhome.
Goodness.
It's just madness. It's total madness.
But on a good note, how's your puppy?
She's gorgeous. Would you like me to get her and say hello?
Yeah. If it's not too difficult, it will end this way. While that's happening, just remind you, hopefully on Sunday I'll have the Minister for Health and Social Care with me, David Ashford, to answer questions.
Isn't she gorgeous?
Beautiful, very quiet, very worth the aggravation, whatever.
It's a lot of trouble. Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much.